down to Marty Necas. He needs to score to keep this one going. Necas with speed. He's coming in hot. Necas in on Luukkonen. Waits, and Luukkonen with the glove denies it. And Buffalo will get the extra point.
This Corner podcast. Hold on. Let me start this over. Welcome to the Canes Corner podcast. I am Adam Gold. Thank you very much for hanging out. After the Hurricanes, I think to many people, to me, disappointing 3-2 shootout loss to the Sabres. Disappointing knowing that you are playing a team like Buffalo, who is still sub 500 in the season and has struggled at home, believe it or not, one of the worst home records in the league. And Carolina has been great on the road, 9-1-1 in their last 11 road games coming into tonight. And you couldn't quite find your game. Actually, you found it for about 8 minutes. I thought the first 8 or so minutes of the game were really good, and then Buffalo just took over. I thought Buffalo was not even close, the better team throughout. Frankly, Carolina lucky to get a point. So disappointing in that. But in the grand scheme of things, I think Carolina probably should feel pretty fortunate. I mean, you really stole a point. Thank you, Spencer Martin. We'll talk about him. We are brought to you by the Aluminum Company of North Carolina. If it is for the exterior of your home, you can find it at the Aluminum Company of North Carolina on Hamlin Road in Durham. No place like it. Sammy Hanna and his crew do a great job. You should check him out for all of your exterior home improvement needs. So before we get into all of this, and there are, let's see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 things I want to get to. I'm not going to spend a ton of time. Frankly, it's been a long week, hasn't it? And that's actually going to be one of the first things we talk about. Shouts to Liverpool Football Club winning the EFL Cup, League Cup. I think, for the, 10th time or something silly like that. With all those kids, all those teenagers, all the academy kids who having to play in extra time. Yeah. That's how my day started. It's been a long day, though. Yeah. Jurgen Klopp, first of 4. I'm just glad they got one. I don't know if they have anybody left. All right. Let's get to, so it's all right. I'm allowed. Let's get to a couple of things from the game, and I will try as best I can to go through some of the comments, and we'll go from here. Let me just answer one right off the bat. Vince says, basically referring to the conversation we had, I believe it was last night, all these games run together, when I suggested the way to keep 4 goalies right now would be to make it virtually unreasonable for another team to claim Spencer Martin off waivers, and that would be by giving him a 2-year deal. 2-year contract beyond this year. Next year's a 2-way deal. The year after that would be a 1-way deal. And Vince points out, I'm not sure that would be enough to prevent another team from taking Spencer Martin. And granted, it is just 4 games, but my gosh, he has been spectacular. I still think it would be enough, but I mean, you just never know. Goaltending is weird. Sometimes goalies stink, and then all of a sudden they're great. And sometimes goalies are great, and all of a sudden they stink. And I can't figure it out either. Maybe Spencer Martin is the former. Stink and great, and stink is obviously a relative term. He's good enough to be a pro, at the highest level. Whether or not he's one of the best or not doesn't matter. There's only about, what do you think, 60 of them in the world? 75 of them in the world at this level? Come on. And Martin's really on one right now. So, but I just thought maybe it won't be enough. Maybe give him a 4-year deal. multi-million-dollar contract. But it is what it is. All right, so why don't we start with Spencer Martin? It's 4 games now. And in the 4 games he's played, I have to go back. I'm pretty sure I have this right. He was the first star for Carolina in 3 of them. He's 3-0-1. Today's the loss, the shootout loss, but 3-0-1. He was the first star in 3 games, including tonight. And I believe for the win over Chicago, I think I had him as the 3rd star. I know Carolina scored 6 goals that game, but I kind of thought he was really good early on, first and second periods before the game got out of hand. I thought he was excellent. So I think I gave him the 3rd star. Either way, he's been the first star, Carolina's best player, 3 out of 4 times he's played, which maybe says a little bit about how Carolina's playing, to be perfectly honest, because I think Carolina's been more often than not, like I thought they were really good against Florida. Obviously, had to be. And I do think that at this point of the season, there is a little bit of who are we playing type of a game for Carolina. So when they're playing against one of the top teams, I think they raise their level. Or somebody they think is going to be a top team, they raise their level. They raised it against the Devils, raised it against Florida. Dallas, very even game. Carolina is probably better than Dallas both times they played, but I don't think either team was awesome. Dallas just, devours your mistakes. But the truth is, if you go back and look at those 2 games, Carolina is probably better. The mistakes, that's what Dallas does. Dallas gets you. They turn your mistakes into their offense. I think they do that maybe better than any team in the league. So when Carolina's playing against the team, those types of teams, I think you see, much more focused efforts. And when Carolina, unfortunately, is playing the Buffaloes of the world or the Blackhawks of the world, where, they just completely went away in the 3rd period. They were lucky that game didn't get closer. I just think they kind of, it's just not right there. I also think that it speaks to, this was the first thing I wanted to get to. I think it speaks to the fact that the Hurricanes right now are just kind of a tired hockey team. I realize it's just, a couple of weeks after the All-Star break. But, man, this week just took a lot out of me, and I don't even play. You play Chicago on Monday. You get 2 days off, and you get Florida. Then you get Dallas 2 nights later. The game against Florida was one of the best hockey games you'll ever see. Should have been a lot more goals. It was only 1. Then you come back to 2 nights later, you get Dallas, and Dallas is a handful all day long, and they choke the life out of the game. I'm on this kick where I like to be entertained when I watch sports, which is why I'm sorry I can't watch you, University of Virginia men's basketball. Can't do it. You bore me to death. Sports is supposed to be fun to play, fun to watch. Can't do it. I don't really feel like I enjoy watching the Dallas Stars play, but, I didn't have an option. But those 2 games took a lot out of Carolina. Then you come up to Buffalo, you get on a plane, you've got 22 hours between puck drops, and you've got really the 2 games you dealt with between the Panthers and the Hurricanes, and Panthers and Stars, and coming to Buffalo against a team that is very different from the one that Carolina has seen and beaten already twice this year. We talked about it in the pregame show. The Sabres, somewhere along the way, became much better defensively. I don't know where it happened or why it happened or how it happened, but they became much better defensively. And Carolina got caught by that tonight because almost all of the problems the Hurricanes had were just being careless with the puck, including on the goal that tied it. A minute 13 after Marty, Necas, and the power play created a 2-1 lead. And that would have been stealing if the Hurricanes could have gotten that to the barn. But 2 shifts later, Andrei Svechnikov just needlessly gives the puck away in his own end. Like, Andre, just get the puck out, skate it to safety. You don't have to give the puck away, but he did. And ultimately, that ended up in the Owen Power goal. And he wasn't the only one to make a mistake. There were mistakes all over the ice. But when you give the puck away, you're just asking for trouble. And Carolina had done a pretty good job of defending desperately, because I don't know how it was only 2-1 Carolina. Frankly, I don't know how Carolina kept the lead after the first 8 minutes of the game. Got off to a great start. Tony DeAngelo's goal was a beautifully worked thing. Jack Drury brings it in, holds it up along the wall, waits for his guys to get there, gets it behind the net to Necas, who passed the Bunting on the doorstep out in front to the left. He got it across to DeAngelo, was coming down. Easy goal. It was great. Great play. Awesome. 100 times in a row, I could watch that goal. You could actually see it happening. The way Jack Drury held the play up was beautiful. It's a shame he doesn't get anything for it. Drury, pretty much made the thing happen, doesn't get anything for it. Bunting and Necas with the assist. Tony DeAngelo, first goal, and I got to go look at it. I will in a minute. So that was good. And then Teuvo Teravainen hit the post. He beats Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen clean, but didn't beat the post. And that's 2-0. It's too bad, because Carolina probably needed that cushion. I think if they get the second goal, I'm not sure Buffalo. Well, I don't know. Carolina was so bad, it probably wouldn't have mattered, to be honest. And Teravainen had a goal chalked off. And it's pointless to get into it, right? We all know Jesperi Kotkaniemi attempted to play the puck with his hand. He did. Now, he didn't attempt to pass it to Teuvo Teravainen, but his plan was to glove the puck, drop it to his feet, and play it with his stick, which is 100% legal. But he whiffed on it. It hit him in the chest or in the belly and fell to the ice. And Teravainen I don't think he was the first to touch it. I thought it might have glanced off the skate of one of Buffalo's defenders. But either way, Teravainen snapped it into the goal, but the goal was ruled off immediately because the referee ruled right away that it was a hand pass. Can't challenge it. I am anti-challenge everything. Look, if we're going to challenge penalties, that's fine. If we want, the referees, hey, before we officially put this guy in the box, let's see if what happened. And we could probably get that stuff done very quickly. But I am not in favor of making every single inch of a hockey game or any game reviewable. I'm just not. It's just not. I think that's terrible for the game. It's awful. We see it in college basketball all day long. Like, who among us isn't tired of the constant reviews? It's awful. It makes the games unwatchable. It destroys the flow. We're just going to have to live with an occasional missed call. This one was missed. Did it cost Carolina a game? Probably not. Again, just consider what we watched. Carolina wasn't very good anyway. But again, tired hockey team. It's been a week. Carolina got some bad breaks. But to be honest, Spencer Martin saved their rear ends for basically all of 60 minutes. How many great saves he made, I don't even know. But he made a lot of them. And they couldn't get the 2 points, but at least they got a point out of it. Again, kind of a surprise that they got a point. Let's talk really quickly about the power play. Actually, Carolina's offense, which is not good. And for this, I will consult yesterday's media guide. Hurricanes did get a 5-on-5 goal tonight, and the power play has not been awesome. But truth be told, the Hurricanes' offense has not been awesome, except against Arizona and except against Chicago. The offense has not been awesome. They scored 2 goals tonight, 1 against Dallas, 1 against Florida, 3 against Vegas, 1 against the Devils, 2 against the Stars in Dallas. You'd have to go back to the game against Colorado where they scored 5. Marty Necas hat trick in the middle of the first period. They just haven't scored a ton of goals. Here's what else is interesting, because the power play's been kind of sleepy for me. The Hurricanes are now 3 for their last 14 on the power play in the last 8 games. So coming into tonight, Carolina had received 12 power play opportunities in the last 7 games, including getting 4 in one of those games. I think that might have been against Colorado. I got 4 in that one, right? 12 in the last 7 games. Meanwhile, they had been put in the box 22 times in that same period. Now, Carolina was doing a lot of the winning of these games. It's one of those oddities, and I am never going to sit here and say that the referees have it out for Carolina. That's reactionary. It's irresponsible. It's stupid. Like, no, I don't believe the referees have it out for Carolina. I don't believe, for instance, I don't believe they're kicking us out of the faceoff circle more than they're kicking out other teams. I think Rod Brindamore probably, imparts some, we'll just go words of wisdom about faceoffs that you run the risk of getting booted from the circle. I don't know what they are because I've never taken a faceoff, but Rod was good at it, so I'm sure he has taught, his charges a thing or two. Anyway, Hurricanes haven't had very many power plays. So it was even tonight, 2-2. Buffalo got the first 2, got a power play goal. Jeff Skinner deflects a shot in. Then, because there's a juicy rebound there, he pounces on the rebound. Skinner does what Skinner does. 7 goals in 13 career games against Carolina. Good for him, I guess. Anyway, so, excuse me. Carolina finally does get their 2 power plays, and they score on the second one. And on the first one, which the first unit stayed out there pretty much the entire time, I didn't like it. I didn't think it was very good. I thought it was slow. I thought it was predictable. And right now, you've got one guy on it that I don't know why. It's just obvious that he is. Andrei Svechnikov is fighting his confidence when it comes to the offensive part of the game. He can do some things to help you without scoring. He is a very good playmaker, and he can be a physical, agitating player. So I would suggest to Andre, lean into that. Because right now, the stuff that you get paid $7.75 million a year to do isn't really coming. It'll come back. When? I don't know. It'll come back, and probably soon, but it hasn't been there for the last few games. And I think Sebastian Aho has faded in and out of being excellent. I actually think he was good the last 2 games. I thought he was good against Dallas. I thought he was good against Florida. And I thought he was very good against Chicago. But I didn't think he was particularly great tonight. I think he was probably, other than Jesper Fast, who's the same every night, I think Aho is probably the better of between he and Andre. And when Seth Jarvis got there, woof, they were bad. They were on the ice for the goal that made it 2-2. Although, as I said before, to me that was more about Svechnikov giving the puck away than anything else. So they just need Andre to get back to being Andre. I also think that it's time that we saw Teuvo Teravainen on that line. I know I talked about it, I think, after last night's game, but I thought 86 was very good tonight. I thought in the first period, he might have been Carolina's best player. Best player not named Spencer Martin. So, no offense to Jesperi Kotkaniemi and Steph Nason, but it's time to get Turbo back where he belongs in Carolina's top 6. It has to happen. It absolutely has to happen. So if Carolina can get to that, put the SAT line out there again, see if that works. I know Aho and Svechnikov are not playing great as a tandem right now, but I think Teuvo Teravainen can certainly be a positive there. But I think it's just time. I mean, Teuvo is just wasting on a fourth line, and I'm not going to get into what Carolina needs to do. We talked about it last time, and we'll talk about it again several times between now and the 8th of March. So, well, what is it? 2 weeks from this past Friday. So 12 days from now is the trade deadline. So we'll talk about it between now and the 8th about who's out there, what can you do, what can you get, how do you get better, what do you need. We'll do all of that. Yesterday in the loss to Dallas, today in the shootout loss to Buffalo, Carolina's best line continues to be Jack Drury, Marty Necas, and Michael Bunting. When I talked to Rod before the game, I asked him why he thinks that line has been so good. He says he praised Jack. He says Jack is very responsible, and he said allows Necas and Bunting to go do their thing. And in many ways, that's a complimentary way of taking a shot at Necas and Bunting. But I do think that both Bunting and Necas have done a great job in one specific area, other than the offensing part. I think they've been very good forechecking. That's arguably been, other than the Staal, Martinook, Foss line or Jarvis line, that's probably been Carolina's best line when it comes to getting on the forecheck. Now, I don't think they're awesome at it, but they hound pucks. They keep the ball. They keep the puck in the offensive zone a lot. They've been really good. And yeah, Drury is super smart and very responsible, and he allows the other guys to take a few liberties. But with that said, and I'm going to leave Michael Bunting out of this, we're watching a Marty Necas that's keepable. Now, whether we believe that this is the real Marty Necas and not just a hot streak, that's another matter. But this Necas is keepable. This is a guy you sign, depending on what the number is. And I've said this before, and I got some pushback from the team. And nobody is suggesting anything nefarious, okay? Marty Necas played 4 years on an entry-level contract. 4. Because they had the opportunity, the right to slide his deal 1 year. I don't know why. They just did. So Necas played 4 years on his entry-level contract. The entry-level deals are 3. So if I'm Marty Necas, I kind of feel like the team owes me one, and I'm not going to settle for 75 cents on the dollar. But he is just a restricted free agent. He does have arbitration rights. My guess is the Hurricanes will never walk away from the deal. I don't think there's a chance this gets to arbitration. I think the Hurricanes will likely either sign Necas or trade his rights to another team. And I couldn't tell you right now what the favorite is for that. But this Marty Necas, let's talk about the here and now. This Marty Necas, you take with you. You take with you into the playoffs because he's been one of Carolina's best players for like the last 3 weeks. He's playing, I think, a little bit more direct. He is certainly playing with a lot of offensive confidence. I actually, whether it matters or not, I think that he has been very, very honest and smart about the way he has talked about how the team is playing in the locker room after games. I think he's demonstrating a maturity about him. Like, it's not just about his goals. It's about, like, we're not doing this, we're not doing that. And I think a lot of the stuff that Necas has told us, whether we're paying attention or not, has been true about the way Carolina's playing. They need to be better at 5-on-5. And so you're not going to have a power play clicking at 30% like it has been since December. You're not going to have that very long. As a matter of fact, lately the Hurricanes haven't had it, and we see what has happened to their offense. They had become very power play dependent, and that's not good. You need to be, especially when you're not getting the power plays. Again, as I just pointed out, only 14 in the last 8 games, and they've given away 24. So 3 a game versus less than 2 a game. That's not a recipe for going on a long winning streak. I'm going to make this promise to you, and I think we're pretty much done. I'm going to make this promise to you. I'm going to stop paying attention to the Metropolitan Division standings because I want to stay true and consistent to what I've been saying. I think it's more important that they simply don't finish worse than second. First of all, there's no guarantee the Rangers win a playoff series. None. Promise. Boston didn't win a playoff series last year. No guarantee the Rangers will win a playoff series, and I don't even think I don't think New York is better than Carolina. I don't. I think New York can win. Carolina can win regardless of whether or not they have home ice advantage against the Rangers. I firmly believe that. So I'm not really concerned about home ice advantage. Carolina just won in New York, the last trip up there. Again, regular season game, it's worth nothing. But I think they can win there. I know they can. But it's important to finish no worse than second. So that's really going to be the focus for me when I'm looking at the standings and doing the scoreboards. And right now, while Carolina is 7 back of the Rangers with a game in hand, they are, more importantly, 7 ahead of Philadelphia with a game in hand. That's good. 7 points ahead of Philly with a game in hand. And I think 1 game left against the Flyers. More important than that, because I still believe there's a chance, they are 12 ahead of the Devils. At some point, the Devils are going to get on a hot streak. They're 13 ahead of Washington. They're not going to make the playoffs. They're 14 ahead of the Islanders and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's got a bunch of games in hand. They won 7-6 tonight, and they have Sidney Crosby. I wouldn't put it out of the realm of possibility that Pittsburgh could get to number 3 in the Metropolitan Division. But as I say that, I will lean back on this. I never at any point thought that they were a playoff team, ever. But the reason I point this out is because as much as I respect what John Tortorella has done with Philly, I think they are a very flawed team. As good as they can be, I think they're flawed. And I don't think they've had a real bad stretch. How do they recover after a bad stretch? But there's just nobody else. And it's not like, I don't think we're going to see a wild card team. Like, you could. Again, the Devils could get a wild card. So, I mean, any of these, Pittsburgh could get a wild card. There's only 2 points separating Pittsburgh and the Devils. But I do believe that at least in both divisions in the East, that 4th place team, well, 3rd in the Metro, 4th in the Atlantic, that's Detroit right now. Detroit's ahead of Tampa Bay. But I think both of those teams will probably make the playoffs. I didn't think Tampa would make it for a while, but I think both will probably make it. But I'm going to stop talking about the division for Carolina, stop talking about chasing the Rangers. Hey, if we get to it, if we get to like 10 games left in the season, and it looks like, hey, we can do this, then I'll bring it up again. But right now, ain't going to do it. Not here. And the Hurricanes now have 25 games remaining. 25 to play. How many does Carolina need to guarantee? How many points does Carolina need of the 50 remaining to know that they're going to finish second in the division? 74 points now, 50 points, 30. There's 104. Guarantee you second place. You might need 106. So let's focus on that. With all of that said, we're going to jump out of here on a night where Carolina lost in a shootout again. I hope everybody was happy that Jordan Martinook didn't go in the shootout. Ha ha, ha ha, ha ha. I got no problem with whoever goes in the shootout. It's a crapshoot. We're brought to you by the Aluminum Company of North Carolina. If it's for the exterior of your home, you can find it at the Aluminum Company of North Carolina on Hamlin Road in Durham. No place like it. Sammy Hanna and his crew do a great job for all of your exterior home improvement needs. There you go. What did Dale say? I don't know what Dale said. From Caleb. Carolina's best pair the last 4 games has been 76 and 77. That would be Brady, Skjei, and Tony DeAngelo. No, but Tony DeAngelo has played well. He's not playing a lot. That's the thing. I think Tony has played well, and he continues to play well. They're probably showcasing him for a trade, but my hope would be this. My hope would be that they're not showcasing him for a trade, that they're just letting Tony play. So if they need him in the playoffs, then he's, played some games in this calendar year, which he basically had not. I still think that their best defensive lineup is Skjei and Pesce going out for 22 minutes a game, Burns and Slavin going out for 22 minutes a game, and Chatfield protecting Orlov. I will say that it has been better over the last few games, where Carolina, Tim Gleason, who runs the defense, has basically rotated the 5 guys, and Tony's played plenty, but they're spotting him. But I actually think he's played very well, and I am very much team Tony DeAngelo, as most of you know, and I got no problem with Tony playing. I mean, I've just been pretty confident that the better defensive player is Jalen Chatfield. He's also more of your future than Tony DeAngelo is, who won't be here next year. I don't know where Tony's going to be. Maybe he will be. Who knows? And maybe Chatfield will be playing in your top 4, because we don't know who's going to be here next year. But I'm not going to talk about that now, because we're done. I already signed off. This has been the Canes Corner Podcast. Like, subscribe, rate, review, show up, comment. Join us after every Hurricanes game on YouTube. We'll be here after the Canes and the Wild on Tuesday night. So right around 11:30, give or take. Okay. Until then, I'll see you. Bye.